Well, good morning. I'm Dr. Wickham Simonds. This is the Dr. Simonds Metabolics and Weight Loss Ask Me Anything Facebook Live event for Monday, August 23rd. Michelle Kennedy, my partner in crime, is on vacation. And so you get me by myself today. And I don't know what it is that people want in vacation. I tell you what, it's hard to get staff that's not lazy, Michelle. Okay, just teasing. No. So look, today we're doing a $25 Target gift card again. And we've done that, and that's been awesome. People are really responding to that. So what you have to do is you have to like the video and leave a comment with hashtag SimonsAMA. That registers you for the gift card, and we give it away by the end of the show. So we've had winners every 2 weeks now for a number of shows, and that's been a terrific thing. So make sure that you're doing that, because I'd hate to see you miss out on the opportunity. If you're bothering to attend the show, you got a good chance of winning, because it's not like there's 5,000 people watching this. It's less. So I'm answering questions today about me. And that's kind of the theme. I'm going to throw in some extra stuff that really isn't about that, but that's bonus and no extra charge for it. So good stuff. All right, so let's get to the first question today. Oh, by the way, before I get to the first question, I think most of you know this. We are open in both locations today. Our hours are 11 to 7 in Raleigh and 12 to 7 in Durham. And we'd love to hear from you. We're taking appointments, and this is a good time. This is a good time to be losing weight. Kids are going back to school, and you're going to have the holidays coming. And I never have understood why folks will just throw in the towel in the fall and as they get into the holidays and worry about it after the first of the year. This is a great time to be making a preemptive strike against the new year and losing weight in the fall and through the holidays. It'd be an awesome thing to do. So if you're considering maybe getting started again, man, there's never any judgment here. I don't care if you gained a bunch of weight during COVID. Welcome to the club. So did the rest of us. And it's a great time to get restarted. We'll never judge you for that stuff. We're gonna lift you up, get you positive again about losing weight, and match you up with medicine that'll help you and really support you through that. So always remember that. That's who we really are. Now, first question comes in and says, is Dr. Simonds married, and does he have any children? If so, does his wife do keto as well? So the answer is yes, I am married. My wife is Anna, and many of you know her. She's a registered nurse, and she also works here at Dr. Simonds Metabolics and Weight Loss. So she does a couple things. I mean, she does the weight loss side of things. And if you're in the Raleigh office today, for example, you're going to see her here with me. And she also does what we call body contouring procedures, non-invasive body contouring procedures using products made by InMode, which is a great company that specializes in these kind of machines that do non-invasive body contouring. And we have some space in our Durham office now where we're doing those procedures, and Anna's trained in doing all of those. And so, yes, I am married. Yes, between us, this is our second marriage, and both of us, we've been married for 15 years. We both have 2 children. Our children are grown and no longer in the house. So they are grown and out of the house and doing their own thing. So as far as diets and stuff like that, we don't have to worry necessarily about and taking all the considerations and feeding them and what we're going to eat and all that, sort of managing all of that. Now, so well, does my wife do keto as well? Look, my wife is easy to get along with, and this is why I married her. Okay, so she's going to do what I'm going to do pretty much. And I've never once said to my wife, Anna, I've never said to her, Anna, you have to do this. Okay. Whatever she wants to do is fine with me. And at the same time, she never told me, hey, Wickham, you have to do this, that, or the other with diet. She let me pick whatever I'm going to do. And she does what she's going to do. And I would never judge her for that. And so I think that this question really stems from, I know there are people, because I hear this every day, whose spouses put pressure on them one way or the other about certain diets, right? I think the main thing is that you want to be concerned about your health and how what you eat affects your health. And that's great if you want to do a keto diet, right? But you don't want to pressure your spouse about this sort of thing. I'll tell you, it's a mistake to do it, because they're not going to like you pressuring them. You want them to arrive at the conclusion that they want to do something to change their health, and you want to support them in that. And you want to lovingly bring them along to that point in support and not be harsh about this sort of thing. So, Barbara, I thank you for saying that nice, making the nice comment about loving my wife. Barbara has always been very good to me and Anna, and we really like you too, Barbara. You're one of my favorite people to see in the office. For those of you watching, hey, Susie, Sandy, and Tanya, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. So, look, don't try to force other people to do what you do. If you're really into keto, let everybody know, hey, this is what I'm trying to do to improve my health. I want y'all to support me in this. And then if they want to do that, fine, support them in that. That would be my advice to you. And that's kind of the way that Anna and I do it. And we don't get too worked up. But it's not an area that we ever have any controversy about. So let's move on to question number 2. It says, why did Dr. Simonds choose weight loss as a medical profession? I get this question a lot. My background, for those of you who don't know, is emergency medicine. And I'm trained in emergency medicine. I'm residency trained. I still remain board certified in emergency medicine. I did that for 10 years before I started doing this full time. And so I kind of got interested in this because I had health problems of my own that were related to my weight. And there really wasn't a lot of medical answers that I was aware of. I mean, I wasn't taught about this in medical school. I wasn't taught about it in residency. And I just knew I was going in the wrong direction. And then I discovered this kind of field of medical weight loss. And at the time, look, this is a long time ago. We're talking about 2001, 2002, so I'm about 20 years ago. Boy, you had to look pretty hard, and the internet had not, we didn't even have smartphones yet. So finding people who would do this for a living, physician-wise, was hard to find them. And so anyway, I searched real hard, found help, got help myself, and it really changed my life. And so I decided to start offering this to other people part-time. I was working in the ER, and and it just really blossomed from there. I found that the general public was eager to get help, and they didn't have a lot of good solutions. And so that's kind of how it all started. And it's just taken on a life of its own. And now with 3 offices, we've had 3 offices and over 30,000 patients later. It's, look, I don't have time to do the ER anymore. So now I'm board certified in obesity medicine and emergency medicine. This is what I do full time. So, look, for those of you just joining, this is the Ask Me Anything Facebook Live event, Monday, August 23rd for Dr. Simonds Metabolics and Weight Loss. I'm answering questions today about me and maybe some extra pearls if the producer gives me a minute. So we got a question that came in saying, what are your thoughts on exogenous ketones? Are they helpful or a waste of money? Well, Holly, I tell you what, they're kind of an affordable luxury. Let me put it to you that way. There's what I see with the exogenous ketones is people say, you know what, I'm going to eat some red velvet cake and wash this down with Mountain Dew. And because I feel bad about this, I'm going to take some exogenous ketones. Okay. And I would tell you, don't be insulted by this. That's stupid. Okay. That is not a smart move. Okay. You need to be eating right. You need to be restricting sugar and flour intake and all forms of grains, and be really limiting rice and potatoes, so that you can burn your own fat and generate your own ketones. If then you want to use exogenous ketones, that's great. If they make you feel good, I can't tell you for certain whether there's any other long-term benefit to doing that. I don't think there's any negative downside, but I don't know that any long-term benefit has been demonstrated in the medical literature. There's probably, in my opinion, just knowing what I know about the most common exogenous ketone, which is beta hydroxybutyrate or BHB, there probably is some health benefit. But look, this brings up a bigger subject. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to get into this because I wanted to get into it today anyway, which is, look, it's very hard. Okay. It's very hard in the current environment that we're in to demonstrate benefit for whatever some intervention is. We have arrived at a point where we talk about evidence-based medicine, and it's like a religion, and that you can't think outside that box. And the problem with all of that sort of thinking, the shortcoming of all of that, in my opinion, okay, is that it takes so much money and organization to pull off the kind of trials it takes to prove benefit that it shuts a lot of people with good ideas outside of this arena. And this is a perfect example with the exogenous ketones. It would take millions of dollars to run a randomized controlled, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial over a long period of time of people using ketones versus not using ketones and measuring some health outcome. This is an impossibility. And you will hear the medical community then say, well, there's no evidence that it helps. That's true. There's not, because it is impossible to do that kind of study. And it doesn't mean it doesn't work. I always say, look, think of the parachute, right? There's no randomized controlled trial on parachutes. All right. But are you going to jump out of an airplane without one? You see what I'm saying? Some things you just have to guess, hey, I think this was probably helpful, and go with it. And this is kind of really important right now during the kind of whole COVID conversation, because there's effective therapies that really work, but you don't have time or resources or organization to run huge randomized controlled trials on a lot of these things. And it doesn't mean they don't work. So it's really true in this case. I think that the exogenous ketones probably have some benefit, but I can't point to a trial that's going to show you that, because I think it's impossible to run the trial. Anyway, I think that, my producer does actually bring up a good point, which is this kind of takes us back to finding a provider who gives you good advice, because there's no substitute for good advice of an experienced provider who's been treating patients using these things. Yeah, you got to trust them. Okay, you got to trust them. And that's important, to find one you trust. So let's move on to question 3. Does Dr. Simonds struggle with weight as well? And how much weight has he lost through the years? Okay, the answer is yes. I didn't struggle with weight when I was, like a teenager or in high school. I mean, to some degree, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I played sports and all that sort of thing. And it just kind of took care of itself. I joined the Army right out of high school. That kind of took care of itself. But once I went to medical school, once I got through college and went to medical school and residency, and that's just a scholastic endeavor that's all consuming, and you quit being as physically active, and, you're eating a lot of drinking a lot of sugary things to stay awake so that you can, kind of perform for 18 or 20 hours a day. This was not good. And this led to real problems with me. And so my weight got as high as 300 pounds, and I had prediabetes and just high blood pressure, was not in a good state. And then I ended up losing as much as 80 pounds, down to 220 pounds. And I've had to be aggressive about monitoring. Every time I turn my back on my weight, bad things happen. It just goes right back up. So I've gained and lost significant portions of that several times in the last 20 years. And what I would say is that, right now my weight's a little bit higher. I kind of vary to 240 to 250. I'm doing a lot of heavy weightlifting. So I haven't gained weight due to an excess increase in my body fat mass, but instead of lean mass. And I'm not too worried about all of that. I would be worried about it if I'd gained it in fat mass, but it's something that I'm never going to be able to turn my back on. And most of you won't be able to do that either. You may find this out the hard way, but I would say you've got to pay very close attention to it. So I actually did see somebody who has the same specialty as me to help me lose that weight and to continue to manage it. And that's been very, very helpful. So I'm really familiar with the idea of taking medication, behavioral change, nutritional interventions, physical activity interventions. These things are not just from a professional standpoint up my alley, but from a personal standpoint too. So we got another question from the audience here. It says, what do you look up in your what do you look up in your personal and professional life? I'm not sure. Oh, who do you look up to? Okay, in professional, personal life. Well, I think that I have different, Barbara. This is from Barbara. I have different uh, types of folks that I look up to. I'm kind of a spiritual person, so in my personal life, I tend to look up to those kind of figures, and I get a lot of good advice from my producer here. I think he wants to be that figure, but my relationship to God is the divine is a little more important than my relationship with my producer. So I think there's various people along the way, in my personal life that have made a big difference to me. One of them is my father. I mean, I spent the weekend with him playing golf down in Pinehurst. And at 83 years old, it's just a real thrill to be able to do that with my dad still. And he's given me a lot of great advice and helped me so much over the years. And many of my patients, because he worked for me for a long time, do know him. And so he's been real influential in my life. I would say professionally, that I wouldn't say that there's one person that I necessarily look up to. There are multiple people. I like to hear, I think, professionally, I'm careful not to just get trapped into one way of thinking about things because I idolize some person. I think it's, to me, more important to hear a variety of viewpoints from people who are well-rounded and are using that brain that God gave them. And so I like to hear what they have to say. So I would say at any one time, I'm regularly reading and following, the 10 or so folks to get different ideas on things. And I can't point to one person who's been an exact, just overriding figure in all of that sort of thing for me. Let's see. Do I recommend fasting? If so, what is the best and most effective? I eat breakfast at 6 a.m., skip lunch, and dinner around 5 a.m. The answer is, this is from Holly. The answer is yes, I do, in fact, recommend fasting. I think fasting is a great idea. And human beings did it for thousands and thousands of years prior to the modern era. The idea that we have to eat 3 times a day is a bunch of baloney. It's not true. You don't have to do it. Fasting is associated with many good health outcomes, and I highly recommend it. You can call it skipping meals. The longer the period goes, the better off you are. So if you want to do fasting, I think it's great. So let's see. Let's move on to the next question. Do I feel pressure to maintain my weight and follow good eating habits while out and about? Yes. Yes, I do. Many people do know me. And I want to take care of my own health, but at the same time, I want to set a good example too. So, I can't really go to a restaurant in Raleigh or Durham where someone doesn't know me. I see my patients all the time at places like the grocery store. So people are going to see what I'm going to do. I was in Pinehurst this weekend. I don't live in Pinehurst, but I got patients down there, and I saw some of them down there. So, it's I do feel some pressure, but that's good pressure. It's not a bad thing. It just keeps me honest. Let's go to question 5, which is what does a cheat day look like? Well, it looks like what it looks like. Sometimes you can't control everything. So when I'm with my dad and a couple of his friends, we're staying down there in a townhouse in Pinehurst and playing golf for 3 days. I'm not there to impose some diet religion on the rest of folks, right? So I just try to fit in and go along. And sometimes they want to go places and eat things that really aren't right up my alley. So I just make a plan to minimize the amount of stuff that I do, and then just roll with it so that it's not offensive to people. And so I just use more of a portion control strategy, and that was fine. It worked out just fine for me. And generally, my cheat days, compared to what I used to do a long time ago, shoot, man, my cheat days really, if I had 100 grams of carbs in a day, I'd be surprised. I will tell you, this is from Charlie. Charlie, I will tell you, he wants to know that my dad take my money down in Pinehurst. I will tell you, I played some of the best golf I've ever played. And we do have all these side bets going on. and I cleaned out the other three guys and took their money and left them humiliated. And they'll admit it. They'll admit it too. I came out really good on that end, and luckily they're terrific guys, and they are not going to harbor a grudge of any kind. But I took the money, and I played on Saturday. I think we played over at the Mid South Club, and on my own ball shot 73. So that was a great. I was rolling in putts from everywhere, and that's what. For those of you who don't know, that's where you win the money on the short game stuff, and putting's important, and when you're in these sorts of things. And so, anyway, all that was coming together, Charlie, and it was a really good weekend golf wise. So, if there was one thing, this is question 6, that I could do to set clear for anyone dealing with weight loss, what would it be? Look, this is what it is. It's a medical problem. You don't have a character flaw. Okay, if you need to lose weight and you're overweight, it is a medical problem. Just like, say, high blood pressure is a medical problem. And so this is a complex biology to it. I talk about this a lot. It needs to be treated medically. You don't need, although, look, behavioral change is important, right? You don't have some weakness, psychological weakness. This is not your problem. You have a real medical problem. Your body is working against you and trying to make you gain weight. And to be able to overcome that, you need a 4-pronged strategy that includes behavioral change, nutritional strategies, increased physical activity, and medication. And that just is what we do. It's our bread and butter stuff around here. So let's get to the 7th question. If I wasn't in weight loss, what other profession would I consider? I spend so much time doing what I'm doing and focused on it that I don't often think of this. But I'm a pretty easy to get along with guy, and I can think of a lot of different things that I would, be good at, and that at least I think I'd be good at and would do. And so, I've always thought I could get a food truck and roll with a food truck and really do that well. Because most food trucks come out there with a bunch of garbage on there, but having good quality, healthy stuff and rolling up on a food truck with that, I think would be a big hit. And I think I'd really like doing that. Okay. We've been getting a lot of good questions. So I'm going through them as fast as I can in the 30 minutes that we got. And let's see, we got another one. What's my take on Wegovy, the new weight loss medication? This is from Crystal. Crystal, I think so I'm just going to give you, is there, Mr. Producer, is there more than one question? Okay, it's going to take me a while to answer the Wegovy ones. Okay, so here's the deal. I like Wegovy. I want you to think Victoza, Saxenda, Ozempic, and Wegovy. It's all the same thing, whether you take it once a day or once a week at low dose or high dose. I think it's fine. I think it's safe. I think it's worked. I think it's prohibitively expensive, and I can't solve that problem. And so this is going to limit its use. There is a current supply chain issue with that. And so you can run all the ads you want, but the bottom line is most of my patients can't get it from a pharmacy right now, the ones that are trying to get it, because it's not there in the dose that they need. And it's going to take the company that makes it a while to solve this problem. I've talked with them. They can make the medication fine, but it comes in these injector pens, and the makers of the injector pen, Crystal, are not cranking those out very quickly. All right, it's COVID everything, okay? Because of COVID, they can't crank it out, and it's really limited the supply. So that's the story on that. What supplement would I take to possibly lessen cold or COVID symptoms? I like this question. This is what I wanted to talk about, and this is from Susie. Susie, thank you for asking this question. Here's the deal, okay? This is, with this Delta variant running wild, this is a great question. And I want to leave, if you don't remember a lot, please remember this. I want you to think about COVID. I don't care what the variant is. It's not going away. And there's going to be variants from now till the end of time. All of you will be dead, and this COVID's still going to be running around this planet. Okay. I don't care if you live to 110 years old, it's still going to be, it's with us forever. All right. And the way this virus works is there are 2 phases to it. You get infected, it gets inside your cells, it replicates. That's the first phase. Okay. Lasts maybe 5 days. At that point, the virus reaches its maximum number, and then you go into an inflammatory phase. And it is the inflammatory phase that kills people. All right. Understanding that then helps you devise a strategy to how do I, cut my risks then of getting in trouble. And here's what I would say on that. It is the principle I'll back up and say, I'm not even going to address the vaccination because it's the same thing either way. I'm not here to tell you to get it or not get it. Okay, that's an individual conversation you need to be having with your physician. Okay, and so that being, and look, you can get this thing with or without the vaccination. You can pass it on with or without the vaccination. So this is a good question Susie asked about supplements. What supplements cut my risk? And understanding those two phases helps you, because that first phase, if we can get through our heads that at the first sign or symptom of this, that you can do things that will help cut the risk of a bad outcome. This is critically important, and these things are available. We've been so focused in conversation on vaccination that we've missed this other part. So there's not a bunch of randomized controlled trials. I mentioned this earlier. There's never going to be that. Okay, but there are a bunch of small studies that all kind of say, look, some of these supplements are highly associated with a good outcome. And so I find that in treating various people, I know with this stuff, I've had really, really good results. And I will just say, hey, pay attention to what I'm about to say. If you come down with symptoms, all right, maybe you're exposed and you think you may have it, or you're just early on symptoms, you can get an at-home COVID test. It's called Binax Now, B-I-N-A-X Now. It's available at most chain pharmacies. It's made by Abbott Laboratories, and it gives you the result in 15 minutes. If you are positive, okay, then you need to immediately start taking some zinc, all right? Zinc, vitamin D, and what's called quercetin, Quercetin. And personally, I take those things during the pandemic anyway. I don't wait for symptoms. These are great tools to make an empirical strike against getting infected in the first place, okay? So the vitamin D level, once it gets above 50, is highly associated with good outcomes, not bad outcomes. And it's easy, it's cheap, and it's safe. We sell it here. 2, the zinc, all right? I've used Metagenics. We're going to be announcing a special. I figured out the amount of zinc you need to take to prevent the replication of the virus in the cell. All right. And between these two products right here, it's called Immune Active and Zinc AG. All right. A daily dose of both of those is what does the trick. And we're going to sell that and bundle that with vitamin D. This Immune Active has the quercetin. Quercetin transports the zinc across the cell membrane inside the cell. It also has zinc in there. I've determined that you need some extra zinc, so I ordered some extra zinc. So that combo right there, quercetin, zinc, D3 is the winner. These three things separately cost $75, and we're going to bundle it and sell it for $55. I would highly recommend that you take this every day during these peak times in the pandemic. And then if you come down with symptoms, immediately start this stuff. It is an absolute home run. And I think it would really cut down your risk of getting in trouble. Now, what's my favorite movie of the show? I'm looking at my producer. Movie or show. Okay. I think my favorite movie of all time, maybe Talladega Nights. But, on a serious note, maybe the original Predator, Susie. I kind of really like that one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The first one they ever made. Jesse Ventura, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Man, this is fantastic. So the winner of the Target gift card today is Sandy. Sandy, you're the winner, and we're going to contact you about this. Thank you for registering for that. I want to thank everybody for attending the show. I know we had to go kind of fast here, but look, thanks for attending. We really appreciate it. This will be available online on our website for you to check out and pass on to other people. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, and thanks again for tuning in.